Welcome back, everybody. This is QuestionMarc,
And I'm Ame.
and today we are looking at all of the new commanders from the latest Magic the Gathering set, Edge of Eternities.
Thank goodness there are only like 20 for this one, because that Final Fantasy marathon was nothing to kid
Oh
about.
my god. Yeah, that was really putting the strain on us, because,
There were so many!
and it was so hard for me to not, just go off on tangents while talking about them. Ame's gonna read them and also gonna try to keep me a little bit in check for not just going off and off on tangents.
If we get 3 rabbit trails deep, I'm gonna say, okay, time to circle it back around.
Okay, and as before, I think there are broadly 4 categories that these might fit in, but I'm seeing some of these for the first time. This is more or less first impressions in my case, and I think most of them, same with you,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah. And I think that they'll fit into one of these 4 categories. Either I'm excited, I might actually build them, they seem to be doing something special, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best, but means that they're more interesting to me.
Things don't have to be good in order to be good fun.
And solid commander. I think that most people, when they're building stuff from this set, want to be looking at this orange zone, the solid commanders or the excited ones. These ones should be, I think they would be good as commanders. Whereas better in the 99, these are cards that I don't think are going to make that good at commanders, but they're not bad cards.
You know, it's an aces and their spaces kind of deal.
And then there's the lame ones.
Yeah, these ones have...
I mean, maybe there's a reason why you would play them in the 99 of a particular deck, in something kind of unusual. Maybe you're going for a challenge or something, or maybe I'm got a bad first take.
Or maybe you just, these tend to be cards that are either hyper specific or strike us as being a bit underpowered.
Oh,
but
yeah.
again, this is a big game and there's a lot of highly specific circumstances, so there might be a way to make them work really well for you. But, this is our show and our opinions.
And I've been playing this game for a long time, and I'm aware of a lot of the commander strategies that are out there, but there are far too many cards for even myself to memorize all of them and all the possible interactions. So I'm not going to think of everything, but I'll do my best.
Oh my god, imagine if someone made like a Poke-Rap of Magic the Gathering cards.
Oh god, even if it was just commanders, it would take so long. Granted, back in the day, they used to have like 3 legendary creatures per set on average, and now this, at around 30, is more like the average. And Final Fantasy, of course, had, I think it was 187?
I love that set to death, but holy god, that was a lot.
Yeah.
That was so much work.
So, let's start, though, with... we just watched a lore video about this set where they kept calling this one Alpha Rad. But that's a YouTuber. This is Alfariel.
Alpharel.
Alpha Rail.
Alpha Rail.
Dreaming Acolyte.
Alpha of God?
And from a lore standpoint, I know that a lot of the cards in here depict the same character in 2 different phases of their life.
Makes
An
sense.
early phase and a later phase. Maybe we'll even be able to tell which is which on some of them. But we'll see. So what does Alpha Rail do? The Dreaming Acolyte, anyway.
Well, for 1 mana, a blue and a black, you get a 2/3 human cleric, and whenever he enters, draw 2 cards. Then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact card. During your turn, Alpha Rail has Death Touch. I am worthy of the Faller's blessing. I can prove it.
So the Faller, I think they were like the god of nothingness that the monoists believe in.
Yeah, I think this is Alpha Royal when he's when he's still with the Monoists, which are a death cult.
Pretty much. I mean, technically not death, as in like they believe in the void and everything's going to go through the void. So I think they said that they do believe that there's some kind of promised afterlife once you go through the void, but like
that's still a death cult.
You.
That's still a death cult. That's what they all say.
Yeah. It spaghettifies you. If you I love that the actual scientific term is spaghettification.
I love that too.
When you are getting close enough to a black hole that the gravity on one end of you is significantly stronger than the gravity on one end of you, and it pulls you apart. Which apparently, I think I remember them
Like
saying that
spaghetti.
his girlfriend had that happen to him right in front of him.
Yeah.
So that sucks.
For the
But
record, he wouldn't have seen the spaghettification because as you approach a black hole, you just kind of from a distance you appear to slow down and then kind of stop and then fade.
yeah, I mean,
That's what it looks like
shouldn't-
from the outside. From the inside, spaghettification.
It shouldn't have been possible to visually see another person being spaghettified without also being far beyond the event horizon past which you cannot escape a black hole.
Then again, these people do have space travel, so who knows what's possible.
They have faster than light travel. They have literal magic, and the things that we would call black holes are not what they are calling black holes. So they're certainly analogous, but we're not sure they're literally the same. Regardless, as a magic card, we're talking about a 3-mana 2/3. So vanilla test,
Nope, not today, but
but
close.
there are a couple of abilities that may make up for that. One of them is an enters ability, and we all love good enters abilities because a creature, or a commander in this case, can be removed and they still got to do a thing. But it also has a continuous ability of having Death Touch on your own turn. A 2/3 with Death Touch is pretty great. Getting you a little card advantage is fine. Honestly, just first take on this here, I think this is a solid commander. Also, the first part gives you a little bit of guidance here. You can either go for a deck that wants to discard lots of cards, or more likely, discard some cards, but have a lot of artifacts. And I need to do at least like one little dive here. I think the card I'm thinking of is like Thirst for Knowledge. There's a lot of thirst in Magic.
That first card looked really thirsty.
Oh, geez. Well, this is what I was thinking of. The card Thirst for Knowledge, you draw 3 cards and then discard 2 unless you discard an artifact. You draw 2 cards, you discard 2 unless you discard an artifact. So it's slightly worse than Thirst for Knowledge. But also, this is Tezzeret, and he's in the Edge of Eternities commander deck.
Also, that's an instant, and this is a legendary creature. So potentially a commander, so, you know.
Also, I just want to point out that I think it's interesting that we have a cleric in blue and black. They're uncommon in black, but they're very rare in blue. One of the only blue-black clerics I can think of is one of my commanders, Runo Stromkirk.
Oh
who's
yeah,
a vampire
that guy.
cleric. So that said, this doesn't seem terribly exciting. It doesn't seem that strong, but it seems fine.
Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Yep. So we'll go on to the other version of Alfariel, Stone
Alfariel.
Chosen. I think this is later in his story.
I believe so too. This is after this.
Oh, is that the end stone in his hand, actually?
I think that might be the hole in his hand.
Oh, yeah, he gets like a portal in his hand that he can use as a little like portal gun kind of thing, and people are multiple times sticking like fingers in his hole in order to like manipulate things at a distance. It's a little weird.
Like, if he wants a beer from the fridge, he can stick his hand into
His
the
other
hole in
hand.
his other hand and then grab that beer.
So, that said, what does he do?
Well, for 3 mana and 2 black, you get a 3/3 human cleric. With Ward, discard a card at random. Ooh, I like that. And an ability called Void. Whenever Alfariel attacks, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, or a spell was warped this turn, defending player loses half their life rounded up.
Oh!
Jesus Christ. All things end. I'd rather embrace that truth than the fantasy of eternal light.
Okay, yeah.
All right,
that's-
existentialism.
That's the monoist kind of creed right there. That gives you a really good idea of what they're about.
Not really.
Well-
This is more of an existentialist thing. All things end, yeah, and that's fine, and it's better than telling ourselves fantasies about the paradise on the other side. I mean, maybe there is a paradise on the other side, and that would be great, but, you know, we gotta deal with things in the here and now. And until we're proven otherwise, then
Okay.
we just kind of have to deal with the ugly truth.
Okay. Well, as a 5 mana 3/3, just on
No.
terms of raw stats, bad. But, like I've said before, and I'll say it again, the vanilla test is really only for creatures that you want to rumble with in combat, just being worth it in terms of raw, like, damage and defense.
It's kind of a good starting point for determining, a card's qualities.
Exactly. And is this card's whole point just to be a good, like, attacker or blocker?
Not really.
Well, I mean, it says when Alfariel attacks, and yet that is not his point. His point is to trigger this void ability to make defending player lose half their life.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
you do have to have had a non-land permanent leave the battlefield or a spell warp this turn. So void is a mechanic you'll see on a lot of cards in this set. In fact, I think my deep dive search here is going to be in a black commander deck. How many cards have the void ability? This is also going to include some cards that say, oh yeah,
Devoid.
devoid. Oh shoot. Okay, that's going to throw off my thing quite a bit, but you'll just see that void does show up on
Keep scrolling.
some number of.
There, we got one.
There's another one, and there's another one. There's another one. Quite a few black cards, so there is, I think, enough to make a void deck. Moreover, it counts permanents leaving the battlefield or being warped. So let's say ones that are warped. Once again, we'll get a few that might not make sense here, but look, warp. I guess all the ones that say void also say warp for that reason. But there are some. I don't know how good these cards are, but they exist, so you could possibly make them good.
You could probably make some interesting combos off of that.
Mm-hmm. And most importantly, though, a non-land... Oh, non-land permanent. I was about to say fetch lands are going to be your best friend. But no, they're not.
Nope, has to be not land.
You know what might be your best friend? Treasure tokens. It doesn't say non-token permanent. So you can be playing like Pitiless Plunderer, I think is one of them.
I was actually thinking Wayfarer's Bauble, but, that would be good too.
Pitiless Plum? No.
Pitiless.
Did I? Oh, I did spell it wrong. Yeah, sure enough. Okay, fine. Pitiless Plunderer.
Pitless Plum.
There we go. Yeah, Pitless Plum. No, this is a good example of a repeatable treasure token maker. And as long as you've sacrificed a treasure before he attacks, then you're going to get his trigger and someone's going to lose half their life. And it's an attack trigger. It doesn't have to be unblockable. It doesn't have to have, any... As long as you attack somebody with it, boom, they lose half their life. And
that ward is nothing to sneeze at either.
Mm-hmm. And it's so easy to turn that into someone just losing. But you're right. The ward of discard a card at random, that's pretty brutal.
Oops, your opponents have one less option to work with on their next turn.
And it's not even of their choice. Okay, there are cards that make someone lose life equal to the amount of life they already lost that turn. Like, for some reason, Akla Zotz is the only one that I'm thinking of right now. I think it's... No, it's not this guy. It's Bloodletter of Akla Zotz. If an opponent would lose life during your turn, they lose twice that much life instead.
Oh, geez, you combo those together and somebody's gonna die.
As long as you warped something or had a non-land permanent leave the battlefield, there are at least 3 cards that have an effect like this that can make someone just straight up die. Which, to me...
I think that bumps him into exciting, doesn't it? Because you can pull some really mean stuff with this.
I'm worried. To me, that is a little bit too far. You know what? I think I will still put him in exciting, but I've noticed in some games that I've played recently that I think I'm bringing it too hard for the average commander player, the average rando I meet at game nights.
True.
I'm winning too much.
Remember the best advice that we've ever heard about deck building? Make the kind of deck that you wouldn't mind losing to.
Yeah, and even I've had some experiences recently where I've been playing against someone and it seems like a fair game, and then they're like, I play this zombie and that zombie, and the game's over. Like, oh, I was still at 38. Like, yeah, well, that's all it took. And having this commander out and then attacking with it and then like warping something, those are not very hard things, and there are multiple ways of making that instantly lethal. This does not kill multiple players, so it doesn't win you the game, it makes one person lose. And if you have some kind of removal, you've got to use it on this guy or the thing he's comboing with.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I guess now that we're telling people will be able to be like, hey, watch out for that one because there might be a combo being pulled together that could ruin everybody.
Exactly. So I think that this guy might have his best place in bracket 4.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Where you can have tutors that go find the pieces that cause the game to end. And then I think it's relatively fair, and people will pack enough removal and things like that, or their own combo that might be faster in order to compete with this. But if you're playing bracket 3, I think you at least want to warn people that, like, hey, I have like 3 ways of winning instantly with this guy, so keep in mind Alfariel is a kill on-site commander.
Yeah.
With that in mind, I think that's what I have to say about him. I'm a little hesitant on putting him in exciting because it could cause some bad play scenarios, but...
don't forget your turn 0 conversations, folks.
Absolutely, the rule 0 conversation.
Remember, the real meta is getting people to play with you.
Yeah, exactly. Winning is the goal of the game, but the goal of going to the game is making people want to continue to play with you. So next we get to an interesting update to the rules of Magic itself.
Yes, now we can play legendary artifacts as commanders. I am so excited.
Mm-hmm. So specifically, the update to the rule says that if your commander has to be legendary and it has to have a power and toughness box, meaning that some of the spacecraft in this set are legal commanders, most of them, at least the legendary ones are, and most legendary vehicles from the past are now legal commanders as well.
I like this. It'll make it feel more like an armada.
Absolutely.
I want to see like a vehicles deck that's piloted by, that's commanded by a space station, and it's just pew pew space battles.
Absolutely.
That would be fun.
There will be some of them later in this video. However, here's one weird exception that I saw. This is just a search for legendary cards in this set, and this is a legendary artifact spacecraft. And yet it cannot be your commander because it does not have a power and toughness box. So, just something to keep in mind. Vehicles and spacecraft generally can be your commander if they are legendary, but only if they have a power and toughness box. Like this one does, and this one does, and this one does not. So,
anyway, back to the
Dawnsire, who has some crazy numbers written on it. Why don't you read it?
Sorry, I'm admiring how gorgeous the ship is. Look at this thing.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Can we go just a smidgen more art there?
There we
wait.
go.
No, you need to know what station does. Okay.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay, for 5 mana, you get a 2020 spacecraft with an ability called Station. Tap another creature you control, put charge counters equal to its power on this spacecraft. Station only as a sorcery. It's an artifact creature at 20+. Okay, so the deal here is you got to get people to... You have to tap your other creatures so that they can put their powers amount in charge counters so that this thing can become an artifact creature.
Right. Until then, it's a legendary artifact, but it's not a creature. So actually, you can see these little dividers in the rules text box, and they do try to make it visually clear that when you play the card, it only has this top thing. Once you hit 10+, it has this middle thing, and once you have 20+, then you have flying and 2020. Until this last section, with 20 or more counters, it does not have a power and toughness. It's legal as your commander, but it can't attack or block or anything like that until it has 20 or more counters on it. But that middle ability...
Alright, that middle ability. Whenever you attack, Dawnsire deals 100 damage to up to one target creature or planeswalker. Pew pew, bitch.
I don't think we've ever had a card that did 100 damage without just saying X, and you can pay any amount into X. The closest
We
thing that I
did
can
have
think of...
Jumbo Cactar.
Jumbo Cactar gets like 10,000 power.
It's not 100, but it is still a shitload.
Yeah, and it doesn't translate directly into damage, unlike Aether Flux Reservoir. I hope... Come on, please. Yes. This allows you to pay 50 life to deal 50 damage to any target. Aether Flux Reservoir is a popular card because it helps you gain life, and you can turn life gain into kills. And I tell you, there's nothing that a life gain deck needs more than a way to end the game. That said, you can't aim this laser at a player. So you can deal 10 bajillion damage to a creature, and at a certain point, it's just destroy target creature, right? Except, and if this is your commander, it's an all-colorless deck.
Yep.
It's an all-colorless deck.
So, risky.
But there's one really good thing you can do with it, and
Stuffy
it's a doll. There might be more, but here's one that comes to mind. Why don't you read this for us, actually?
For 5 mana, you get a 0/1 construct with Indestructible. As Stuffy Doll enters the battlefield, you choose a player, and whenever Stuffy Doll is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to the chosen player.
And Stuffy Doll can deal 1 damage to himself, but you usually use this as a blocker. You sometimes combo it up with some direct damage or something. Fine, good. But with Dawnspire, you can pew-pew laser your own Stuffy Doll for 100 and kill a player immediately.
Dang.
Now, once again, though, it isn't just game over immediately, because you do have to choose a player, and then you kill that player. There's still 2 others, and Stuffy Doll can't be reset without being, like, blinked or reanimated or something.
That's right.
Going to be hard in colorless, so...
Not impossible. It's just going to take some doing.
So, also being an all-colorless deck, you're going to be playing this as an artifact creature deck. You're going to be playing this as an Eldrazi deck, maybe? Something like that. I'd probably lean towards artifact creatures, because then it'll synergize a little bit with the legendary artifact here.
And of course, once it gets 20 or more charge counters, it can fly, and now it can hit someone else for 20 damage. 20 commander damage!
And there are lots of ways of getting more counters on an artifact faster from Core Tapper, who's being reprinted. Although, someone has pointed out that this guy can tap to put a charge counter on an artifact, or you can use the station ability to tap him, and since he has 1 power, that also puts 1 charge counter on your artifact. So that's not actually faster, but you can sacrifice it to put 2. Or there's an old card that I hope that I can remember. It's Energy... Shoot. Oh, there's going to be way too many cards. Energy Chamber! Is this the one? Yes, at the beginning of your upkeep, you can put a charge counter on a non-creature artifact. Wonderful.
And of course, don't forget Proliferate.
Oh, yeah, Proliferate. Now, a little tricky to do in a colorless deck, but you can always be playing, let's see, Contagion Engine? Yeah, that has Proliferate, then Proliferate again.
Oh, jeez.
Or you might be able to find some artifact creatures that have a really high power, and maybe they suck generally. Like, maybe it's like a 6/1 defender for 2 or something, but that'd be great here. Excuse me. So...
With all that in mind, how do you see this as a commander? Honestly, I'm kind of excited to try some new and interesting things. The main thing holding it back for me is that it's colorless.
Yeah, me too. There are a number of other spaceships here, and so I think I want to put it in Solid Commander, and I think it's more interesting than Alfariel, this one, who's just, like, kind of good. So, yeah, to put a pin in it, I'm on the fence here if this is exciting or not. Having spaceships and vehicles as commanders is broadly exciting, and 100 damage in 2020, these are all exciting things, but a colorless deck is a pretty big hurdle.
It is. Not insurmountable, but it is a hurdle.
Now we get to the first real bizarre fella.
I like this little weirdo. It looks like a surrealist interpretation of a car engine.
Oh, okay.
But I'm all right with that.
So its name is Diadrene Synthesis Amalgam, And it did not come up in the story that we heard, so I don't know what their deal is, and there's no flavor text. Anything better here? Oh, it has an alternate art. It looks like that.
Now it looks a little more like a person kneeling over.
Yeah, and they aren't a robot, they're a construct, but they make robots? I don't know. Let's read the card.
All right, for X mana, a green and a white, you can get a 0/1 construct.
Woo!
With trample.
Love your 0 power creatures with trample.
Diadrine enters with a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it.
Ah.
Whenever you attack, you may remove a 1/1 counter from each of 2 creatures you control, and if you do, draw a card and create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. Wobot Army!
Okay. So a number of things going on here. First off, I love the design space of an X mana cost, and yet the rest of the text doesn't say the X does anything directly. Instead, it's that middle ability where he enters with, it enters with a number of counters on it equal to the mana that you spent to cast it, and that X just allows you to spend as much mana as you want. But that means that by default, this thing is a 2 mana, 2/3 trampler? Okay.
Not bad, not bad.
But you can spend any amount of extra mana that you want. Your call.
If it's a 2 mana 2/3, then by default, it passes the vanilla test.
Yep, and a lot of green creatures. Green creatures are more likely to pass the vanilla test, and so are multicolored creatures. And this one, obviously, has a +1/+1 counter theme, so I'm glad that it has good stats in terms of just raw numbers. But, okay, whenever you attack, so that means it doesn't have to be the one attacking. That's important.
Oh my god, I just realized.
What's up?
The mana tax is going to help this thing.
Kind of. I mean, you could already choose to pay extra mana, but in this case, it will scale with that extra mana. So it makes the floor mandatory, but yeah, the mana tax doesn't really hurt this guy that much.
No, if anything, it helps. Yeah, it'll be harder to cast, but it's also going to be bigger and scarier.
Yeah, and it reminds me in that way of Marath, who is a really old commander at this point, from all the way back in Commander 2013. But let's look at maybe a more recent printing of it here. There. So it's 3 mana, and it enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it.
Huh.
It's that same thing, but it doesn't have X. So on this one, you have to spend 3, and the next time you have to spend 5. But that does turn the commander tax into a boon, because it has more counters. So this is just an even more flexible version of that. But even when this thing is summoning sick, you attack with any creature. You can remove a +1/+1 counter from each of 2 creatures you control. So another specific thing about that ability, it doesn't say that you can remove 2 counters from 1 creature, or it has to be specifically a counter from 2 creatures you control. So you have to have at least 2 creatures with counters on them and split up that way. But if you do that, drawing a card and creating a 2/2 robot is great.
Yeah.
I mean, you're spending 0 mana to make a body and draw a card. Honestly, while a lot of what's going on here isn't that special, like +1/+1 counter decks in Selesnya colors are very common, it's doing something neat with it. White is far from the best color at drawing cards. Green will not usually have an artifact theme of like making robots. So honestly, I want to put this guy up in exciting.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say he's more exciting than Alfario because I don't see him going easily infinite and just killing a player outright. This is a deck that will get advantage over time, and I like that.
Yeah, I like this.
Mm-hmm.
The +1/+1 rhymes with the green in its coloring, and making a lot of tokens. I think that rhymes with white, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. You can use a little populate. You can use a little proliferate. It'll benefit from both because the populate will get you more creature tokens, and the proliferate will get you more +1/+1 counters on those creatures.
So yeah, that's a game.
And I'm thinking also the last diatribe I want to go on here is going to be the modular ability. I'm curious how often that shows up on green and white cards. Okay, so obviously there's a lot of artifacts, and you're familiar with Arcbound Crusher.
I like Arcbound Crusher.
Arcbound Crusher is honestly really underrated in Commander beatdown decks. If you're playing an artifact-themed deck that wants to, like, rumble with artifact creatures, consider the Crusher.
Also, I really like the proxy, the cookie proxy we made out of him, where he's just like this angry cookie tank, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. But consider the lowly, Arcbound Mouser, an artifact cat. A 1-mana, 1/1 effectively, because the modular ability has it come in with a +1/+1 counter, and it has lifelink. So I think that there are some fun, kind of small, white, I'm not seeing any green ones. There are no green modular creatures. Okay. I think Modern Horizons 2 had a theme of white-red modular artifact creatures, but regardless, that is a fun mechanic because when a creature with modular dies, it can move its +1/+1 counters to other artifact creatures.
And you can do some wild things with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, who's next?
Okay, who is next is Halia, Ascendant Cadet. So, is this the first phase or the I'm thinking this might be the early one for her. Oh, this is the uncommon, so that probably makes it earlier in her storyline.
All right. For 2 mana, a green and 2 white, you get a 3/3 human soldier. Whenever Halia enters or attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever one or more creatures you control with 1/1 counters on them deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. By the eternal and ever-flowing light, I swear myself to this cause.
Yeah, so they apparently have an interesting religion based on, like, if the math of, like, math makes right. That if the math adds up, then it's fair to do, even if it seems really awful. If it makes a better world, then it's worth it.
Also known as the dark side of utilitarianism.
Mm-hmm. And that is one of the struggles inherent to the color white, is, how much conformity is too much conformity. There's, equality, and then there's, equally not caring about anybody.
Right.
Yeah. So, that said, we're dealing with a 5-mana 3/3, so no wonder she's an uncommon. But she enters or attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature. Okay, that makes up for it. She could be a 5/5 by the time she attacks. And whenever you hit with +1/+1 countered creatures, you draw cards. That's great. Once again, green-white could use more commanders that draw cards. In fact, drawing a card is one of the best things to have on your commander because it's something every deck needs, and this way it's reliable. Also, the way that this is worded, 1 or more creatures means no matter how many creatures that you hit with, you only draw 1 card per player. So you can still draw 3 cards if you hit 3 players. All that said, strangely, Halia actually kind of goes in a Diadrine deck, or vice versa.
I'd put her in a Diadrine deck.
Yeah. I think she might be better than 99. Although...
Please have opinions about this in the comments.
Because here's the thing, is that I think that I might have put her as a solid commander, except in the context of Diadrine, which is way more interesting, and they both care about +1/+1 counters, and going wide, and attacking, and they even both have a draw card ability. So if it weren't for comparing so poorly to Diadrine, I would say she's a solid commander. But...
But since she's got to stand next to Diadrine...
Yeah, you might put her in the 99. I mean, you could put her as a commander. She's not that bad, but I think why when you could play Diadrine instead, that's more interesting. Now, her more developed version, I believe.
Halia, Guided by the Light. 2 mana and a white. You get a 3/3 human soldier, and whenever Halia or another creature or artifact you control enters, you gain 1 life. Okay, so we're big on them creatures and them artifacts. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card if you've gained 3 or more life this turn. Woo, life gain matters. And warp for 1 white. meaning you may cast this from your hand for its warp cost. Exile at the beginning of the next end step, and then you may cast it from exile on a later turn.
Okay, so warp reminds me of a lot of other abilities. It reminds me of plot, it reminds me of foretell, it reminds me of suspend, it reminds me of adventure. All ways that you can cast a spell for a little bit of mana now, and then you get it later. In this case, the difference is the warp allows you to get it for one turn, where since it's a creature, it can't attack. And because it disappears at the beginning of the next end step, it can't block. And then you can cast it later for its full cost, anytime that you could normally cast the spell.
So basically, you do it either if something has haste or if they have a really good effect you can use in one turn.
And honestly, I was really down on warp when I first saw the mechanic. I thought the creature kind of had to have haste for it to matter. No, they wrote almost every one of these cards to have really interesting abilities that are useful on the one turn you get them out. Like, whenever she or another creature or artifact you control enters gain a life, that triggers off of a lot of things. And if you gain 3 or more life, you draw a card. So if you see turn 2 or 3 or something, you can pay 1 mana, get her out, gain 3 life, draw a card, and then cast her for realsies later. That's super worth it.
Problem.
Yeah.
In order for warp to work, she has to be cast from the hand, not from the command zone.
Oh no! That is an excellent point out here. You may cast this card from your hand for its warp cost. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, so I think that this might then ruin this card as a commander like some ninjas have been ruined.
Yeah, I think that immediately punts her to better in the 99.
Oh, absolutely. Let me just do a quick comparison here. I'm thinking ninjutsu.
Jutsu, it's a U.
U? Okay, ninjutsu. And
yes, I was a Naruto fan. Why do you ask?
You're right. Okay, legendary. They've got to be legendary creatures. Okay, I'm sure that there are a few other legendary ninjas. Okay, so like Inkais, for instance. Inkais could be a really cool commander. However, the ninjutsu ability says that you may put this card onto the battlefield from your hand, tapped and attacking. Because if she's your commander, she's in the command zone, you need to pay 6 to get her out of the command zone before you can ever do the ninjutsu thing. So that kind of ruins her as a commander, and it ruins Halia. You're right. That is so unfortunate. And they fixed it on one card, Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow, where she has commander ninjutsu, so you can put her on the battlefield from your hand or the command zone tapped and attacking. Except, I don't know how much you know about Yuriko.
I don't.
She is one of the most busted commanders ever printed, because this commander ninjutsu allows her to get around commander tax.
Ooh, tax evasion.
Allows her to enter the battlefield without it being a spell being cast, so she can't be countered.
Oh no.
In fact, commander ninjutsu is so good, you can attack with an unblockable creature. Commander ninjutsu Yuriko in. Someone can cast Path to Exile on her. You could use ninjutsu to bounce her back to your hand to get some other creature in. Now the swords or path is countered because the target's gone.
Oh.
And then still ninjutsu Yuriko back in the same combat, having dodged a removal spell for like 3 mana.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you a master of the substitution technique.
Oh yeah, and I know all this in part because I play Yuriko as one of my commanders. I actually haven't played her in a while because she's more of a bracket 4 deck. Like, too good for normal commander, but not good enough for competitive. Well, actually, she is kind of good enough for competitive. But all that said, I think that means, oh boy, she's better in the 99. I really wanted her to be good. She was even going to be exciting because she turns life gain into card draw, something that white is good at, into something white needs.
But
the warp thing. I can't say that she's lame. Any other card with warp as a legendary creature might be lame because warp just nerfs them, but she still has some things that white life gain decks want.
command warp when?
Oh, yeah. Although, like I said, that ended up being dangerous, so you gotta worry about. Watch that. Okay. Then we're on to Hearthhole the World Seed, which is one
Woo!
of
That is
the...
pretty.
Oh, yeah. There are 2 commander decks along with this set, and I've included them in here because they only have 2 new legendary creatures apiece, I believe.
Oh.
One of them is a spacecraft for each of these decks. So this is the Jund spacecraft from the Lands Matter deck.
All right. For 1 mana, a black, a red, and a green, you get a 6/7 spacecraft. Once again, we've got the station ability. For this one, you need, let's see, you need 2 station, you need 2 charge tokens to turn it from to change it from a lawn ornament.
Yeah.
For
Where it has an ability.
For 1 mana, a tap and a sack, and sacrificing a land, you can draw 2 cards and then play an additional land this turn.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Okay. Once you get 8 charge counters on that, it has flying, vigilance, and haste. And whenever you sack a land, each opponent loses 2 life.
Whoa!
So, lose them lands, get them lands, bop everybody.
Okay, so I've never seen a commander where the vanilla test matters less. Honestly, all these spacecraft, considering how many station hoops you have to jump through, the vanilla test just absolutely does not apply. You know? Because you've got to tap 8 power worth of creatures in order to make this a 6/7. It's going to take you a little bit. But green should be better at that. Red should be better at that.
And this is also far less than the Dawn thing.
Dawn Sire, you're right. It doesn't require 20, it requires 8. And of course, it's
Much
no
more
20/20,
achievable.
but a 6/7 flying vigilance haste that makes your opponents lose life when you sack lands in a deck that's clearly designed to be sacking lands a lot and has a built-in ability to sacrifice lands. And having that vigilance also means that it can attack and use its own ability on the same go-around. There's a lot of synergy going on here. So
This thing is practically begging to be a commander.
yeah, I mean, they made it for the commander deck. It makes sense. I think it competes with some things like Lord Windgrace. Lord Windgrace is also not a creature. It's a planeswalker, so it's not going to be used in Commander quite the same way. Whoop. It's also in Jund colors, and it also has lands going to the graveyard and coming back and drawing cards. So he's kind of the OG, the gold standard for Jund lands matter. Is Hearthhole better? Maybe. Because one of the problems that I see in Lord Windgrace decks is they struggle to win the game. In theory, they can win the game with this whole blow up 6 things, make 6 cats with Forest Walk. Except 6 cats with Forest Walk doesn't necessarily win you the game. And getting to 11 loyalty on a Planeswalker is pretty tough, considering everyone's going to be swinging at your commander to try to keep it away from that. Whereas Hearthhole, if they don't have artifact destruction, then this is safer. It's cheaper by 1 mana. I think that this is competitive with the best Jund Land Matters commander ever. I don't personally find myself that excited by this theme, but this is really good at it.
Yeah, this is at the very least a solid, and I actually think it warrants... Yeah, I think this warrants an excited, actually. This isn't necessarily something I'm excited about, but it's definitely putting itself out there and working hard to make itself attractive, and I think effectively.
I believe that Landfall is the most popular theme in Commander in terms of there are more decks with the Landfall theme than any other theme. And so to me, that makes this a little tired, but this is certainly one of the best.
Okay.
And one of the more interesting being a spacecraft.
Okay, top of solid then.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? If you haven't played Commander as much, or if you've never built a Landfall deck yourself, now might be the time.
All right, who's next?
Next is Infinite Guideline Station.
Woo! Woo!
This one is our sole 5-color commander in this set. It's super interesting. It's super different. So why don't you read what we're looking at here?
Okay, so for Woober, you get a spacecraft. Now, when this particular spacecraft enters, create a tapped 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token for each multicolored permanent you control. And you probably have a lot of multicolored permanents. This is Wooburg, after all. And to turn it, and you need 12 charge counters to change it from a lawn ornament into a 7/15 flyer. And whenever it attacks, draw a card for each multicolored permanent you control. This thing is really big on multiculturalism here.
And for me, I love that. Because a 5-color commander can be the worst thing or it can be the best thing. Because it allows you to play every color. And I know some people get really excited about playing a 5-color commander, but if you aren't a really experienced deck builder, it can just mean 5-color good stuff or 5-color whatever I've got lying around. And that honestly makes for a kind of lame deck that none of the cards really synergize together or anything. Bummer. But
These things are hard. Wooburgs are hard to balance.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can build a Wooburg deck, no problem, but build one that works, and then build one that works well. Those are two very higher standards to get to.
Easy to learn, difficult to master.
Yeah. And so what I love about this one, though, is it doesn't just tell you play 5 colors. It tells you want to have the most multicolored permanents that you can. Now, they don't have to be the most multicolored in the sense you don't have to have, like, 3, 4, 5 color. They just have to be at least 2. So I think your best friend might be stuff like... what's it called? It is... It's got hexproof, it's a 1-mana creature, it's like a bubble or a bauble or something like that. Shoot. I'm going to forget. But it is both blue and green, and the mana value is 1. Let me see how many things that comes up with. Bogle! The Slippery Bogle!
Hexproof.
Yes! This is a multicolor permanent that costs 1 mana. That's your best friend. Hybrid mana is your best friend, because it means that you can get multicolor cards for as little as 1 mana, and then when this thing comes out, you've got a ton of them.
Oh, yeah.
And that way also, whether you got green in your opening hand or blue in your opening hand, you got somebody. And hexproof means that it's unlikely to be removed. Now, does the Slippery Bogle do a whole lot on its own?
Nar.
Surprisingly, yes.
What?
There's, in fact, a whole deck archetype called Bogles, where people put auras on it.
Oh.
Because normally the danger of auras is that you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket because they blow up the creature and they blow up all your auras. But if your basket has hexproof, people can't blow it up.
Oh, I see it now.
Yeah, you can actually put all kinds of auras on this guy, and so he might make the cut in your deck. But really, the important thing for this is that you want to have the most multicolored permanents you can, and for that last ability, also draw cards for each multicolored permanent. Make robots. One other important thing for the station mechanic I want to make sure that I've said at some point in this video is that you can station with a creature that has summoning sickness. It has to be untapped, so the robots that this thing make, since they enter tapped, you cannot use the station itself immediately. But if they were untapped with something like an Amulet of Vigor, does that work on... It's not just lands, right? Yeah. Whenever a permanent you control enters tapped, untap it. Yeah, Amulet of Vigor might be worthwhile in this deck, because if you play it, you could end up with like 6 robots, and if they come in untapped, you can tap them all immediately to station, Infinite Guideline Station, all the way up to a 7/5 flyer.
Dang.
Also, when it comes to summoning sickness for the spacecraft itself, artifacts don't have summoning sickness unless they become creatures on the turn they entered. So this thing isn't summoning sick unless it becomes stationed all the way to 12 on the first turn, in which case you can't attack with it. So these are all little rule specifics. The last thing that I think is relevant to it being a commander is that unfortunately the robots themselves are not multicolored, so this ability doesn't help you do this ability per se. But I think making a deck that's full of like 2-color artifact creatures and has benefits from that could be fun. And so I'm going to put it up I think here.
Really?
Oh yeah, because once again, Alfariel, I think could just end a game quicker than I would like, and this is kind of a deck building challenge. I almost did it as a deck building challenge until I realized that the robots were colorless. I was really hoping for stuff more like Trans Guild Courier. And yes, they are the courier of the Trans Guild. Is one way that you could put it.
Then shouldn't their colors be pink, blue, and white?
Well,
Or
in
I
your
guess red,
mind,
blue,
they
and white?
absolutely can be because they are all colors.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's pride.
Yeah. Now, granted, Transguild Courier technically means that they are a courier between the guilds, but it doesn't matter. It can be whatever you want it to be. Anyway, I think that's enough on the Infinite Guideline Station.
All right, who's next?
Inspirit, flagship vessel, which is from the other commander deck for this set, the red, white, blue one that cares about counters.
And for a blue, red, and a white, you get a spacecraft.
Yep.
It stops being a lawn ornament at charge 1, so that's nice.
Okay, important actually, sorry to interrupt you here, is that it does only... Oh, okay, you're kind of right. It has abilities at 1. It doesn't become a creature until 8.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I mean by, okay, now it's not a lawn ornament. Now
Okay.
it does something.
You're right. Okay. Just I want to make sure no one's confused out there. It doesn't become a creature until the last phase.
All right, it's no longer a lawn ornament at charge 1, where at the beginning of combat on your turn, you put your choice of a +1/+1 counter or 2 charge counters on up to one other target artifact. One other target artifact. Okay, so this guy wants to be in a fleet.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
All right, and then it becomes a creature at charge 8, and where it gains flying, 5/5, and other artifacts you control have hexproof and indestructible.
Whoa!
Oh, dang. Low
Whoa.
ceiling, wants to be in a fleet, wants an invincible fleet.
Okay, this is reminding me a little bit of the old card Leonin Abunis, which is old because it's actually from OG Mirrodin, where it gives artifacts you control hexproof. But this card doesn't make the cut in commander decks these days, being a 4-mana 2/5 with nothing else going on. But being a 3-mana creature, 3-mana commander in different colors that can be this, it gives them indestructible as well. Jeez. This seems really good.
And like I said, it wants to be in a fleet. It's going to give those +1/+1 counters or charge counters to other target artifacts. It wants a fleet. A mighty fleet.
Yeah, and okay, it puts 1 +1 counter or 2 charge counters. So it will actually help you station other stations.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned, by the way, that it's not just spacecraft that have the station ability. If I show you here white, blue, red for this color and has the station mechanic, I should see some lands. Yes. Like Adagia, Windswept Bastion. You want to read this?
Let's see. This land enters tapped. Tap it to add planes, and when you station it and it gets to charge 12, for 3 mana and a white and a tap, you can create a token that's a copy of target artifact or enchantment that you control, except it's legendary. Activate only as a sorcery. Oh, we can get a fleet by visiting all of the planets.
Heck yeah. So planets are a new land type introduced in this set. They are lands that have the station ability. They're mostly slow and not like crazy as lands, but they're lands that you can level up to do other things. And Inspirit doesn't work with them actually because it says target artifact. And they're well,
but you could get copies of target artifacts, so you'd have more artifacts to work with.
okay. I thought that it would be good with the planets because you could put charge counters on them, but no, they have to be artifacts. So, okay, it's not as good as I thought. This is our first take. I haven't seen these cards before. But, so, while it may not help you as much with planets directly, it'll help you with other spacecraft. Debris Field Crusher. Heck, your Death Star, It'll help you get more counters on your Death Star, basically. So I think Inspirit is a quite good commander. You can play it with just like Jeskai artifact good stuff, or you could put other spacecraft in there, and I think that's fine.
I would recommend putting other spacecraft in there. Show me your fleet.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that we get more chances to see more spacecraft in Magic in the future. Unfortunately, we can't go back into the past, like, I don't know, the Doctor from Doctor Who. Otherwise, we might make things like the TARDIS into a spacecraft.
I can already see it having Fleet 6 because, I mean,
Station 6?
actually, it would probably have Station 2, but also gains another ability at Station 6 because it takes 6 pilots to properly fly a TARDIS.
Oh.
But so far in the series, I think it's only happened like once.
Okay. Also, I have been looking forward to playing RMS Titanic as a commander.
Aw, yeah.
I'm gonna crash the Titanic into somebody again. So I'm looking forward to having fun with that. But unfortunately, it is a vehicle and not a spacecraft. But it works.
It still counts, though. It still has power and toughness, so you could totally have it as a commander.
Exactly. So the other commander in the box with Inspirit in this Commander Precon is Kilo Apogee Mind.
For a blue, a red, and a white, you get a 3/3 Robot Artificier with haste. And whenever Kilo becomes tapped, proliferate.
Wow.
That's a lot you could do.
Wow. Okay.
Get him speedy. Get them counters up.
I immediately feel like I have to compare it to Atraxa, Praetor's Voice. Atraxa, for most of the history of Commander, has been the most popular commander.
Let's see. Flying, Vigilance, Death Touch, Lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, proliferate. Costs 4 mana. Everything but red. And it's a 4/4.
So, this is similar to... Kilo is similar to Atraxa because every turn you can proliferate, kind of built in. And this is 4 colors, this is 3 colors. It's also very efficient. 3 mana, 3/3, 4 mana, 4/4. This one has some crazy other combat abilities. And of course it lacks red. This one has red and lacks green and black instead. So they aren't going to be the same decks, but they'll be similar. And the thing with Atraxa also is that there are so many things that she's good with. She's good with Infect, so poison counters, which I think was the intent. Being a
Phyrexians.
Yeah, being a Phyrexian. She's been eroded to being a Phyrexian, of course. Also, she's good with oil counters. She's good with charge counters. She's good with +1/+1 counters. She's good with sagas. She's good with experience counters. All kinds of things like that.
Rad counters, too.
Yeah, rad counters. Now, Kilo is good at all of those same things, but a little bit weaker of a body, a little bit less crazy abilities, a little bit less toxic in that these colors are not known for being good at poison, and poison is one of the main things they're afraid of. Oh, I failed to mention one of the most crazy things people do with Atraxa, and probably with Kilo soon, Super Friends. Are you familiar with the term Super Friends?
I'm familiar with the show.
Okay, Super Friends are guys like Jace the Mind Sculptor. Oh, there's probably more than one Jace the Mind.
Better than all?
Yeah.
Sorry, couldn't resist.
Jace the Mind Sculptor was at one point considered the best thing that you could spend 4 mana on. Is he today in Commander? I doubt it. But he's still a good card, and there's a million Planeswalkers out there these days. They all have loyalty counters, and Proliferate makes them better. If you're playing Atraxa as your commander, you can play a 4-color Super Friends deck, and that is so tough to beat. Facing down 1 or 2 Planeswalkers is not impossible for the average commander player, but facing down 5 or 6, there's just not enough damage to go around.
That is a problem.
Oh yeah, and it takes so long to go through all their various abilities. But the nastiest thing that those decks do is stuff like Doubling Season. Because Doubling Season has you double the number of counters that your Planeswalkers enter the battlefield with.
Oh, yeah.
And that makes most of your Planeswalkers jump straight to their ultimate. Not this guy, but...
But dang close!
So there's a couple of cards like Doubling Season, and I think that the Super Friends decks that include green are the busted ones. He doesn't.
Nope.
It doesn't.
Still gets Jace better than all, though.
Sure, sure. But if you don't get doubling season, I think you have a much, much fairer Super Friends deck you can build out of it. I think that you don't have near as scary of a poison deck if you're missing black and green. I think that instead you can focus on some of the other more fun things that you can do with Proliferate, like sagas. So I think this guy's cool.
All right, Kilo, slightly worse than Atraxa, but maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna put him up here in that he kind of doesn't give you any instructions for what you're supposed to do. Like this one is make a fleet, of spacecraft or something, but still very good. So next we're on to one of the trickier ones to pronounce. How would you think that's pronounced?
Menon.
Good. The right hand. I think it might actually be Memenon, but then it sounds like it's some kind of like online cult or something. Memenon. For people who anonymously have a hard time with their memory.
All right. For 3 mana and 2 blue, you get Memnon. You get a Demonic Device. For 3/4, who's a 3/4 Jellyfish Advisor with flying. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast artifact spells from the top of your library, so we want them artifacts. Artifacts you control have tap to add blue. Spend this mana only to cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand. We want them artifacts, and we want them in blue. We want blue artifacts.
Oh my. I mean, this reminds me of a couple of things real fast here. The scariest thing is Urza. I think it's the Grand Artificer is the one? Or is it Lord High Artificer?
Bean, get down from there.
Okay, I mixed up the name, but it's the right card. This guy is a CEDH all-star. He's probably the best mono blue commander, period. And he allows you to tap artifacts for blue mana. This artifacts you control have tap add blue. This is a slightly fixed version of what Urza does. Okay? Slightly fixed because artifact creatures that you control with this can't tap for blue on the turn you play them because they'll have summoning sickness. And you're limited somewhat in what you can spend the blue on. Urza, it gets around the summoning sickness because it's not the creature's ability, it's Urza's ability, and it doesn't have a limit on what you spend the blue on. So it's not as busted as Urza, but just about.
The only thing I'd say is that's really holding it back here is that it's a monocolored command. That it would be a monocolored commander.
Well, I mean, I do say generally that monocolored commanders are worse than multicolored ones because multicolored ones allow you to cover your weaknesses, but blue is a really good color if you want to be mono about it. It has all the counter magic and it has lots of good artifacts and things. Also, this card compares really well to Reality Chip. This is the other card people have reminded of for this, saying that they already power crept the jellyfish. This is a legendary artifact creature equipment jellyfish, and this is a legendary creature jellyfish. What? This one also
I want to
lets
see a jellyfish deck now.
This is a legal commander. Despite it looking
God.
really freaking weird, it doesn't look like a creature at all. It's an artifact creature that's legendary, has a power toughness box. It has been legit since it was printed. I've seen it as a commander once, and it was nuts. Because you can look at the top card of your library at any time, and as long as this is reconfigured to be equipped to a creature, you can play lands and cast spells from the top of your library.
Oh, geez, put these two in the same deck.
Absolutely. So it's basically Future Sight, which is a 5-mana spell that lets you just play off the top of your library, except it costs a lot less to get out, and so you can cast it on turn 2, attach it on turn 3, and start going off with it. Both of these make sense in artifact creature decks. Honestly, this is a really good commander. I'm just glad that it costs 5, so it takes slightly longer to come out.
So, where do you think we should put it?
I'm thinking up around here.
All right.
This could be viable in CEDH. It costs a little more than Urza, and there are those restrictions, but it could almost be CEDH good. I'm worried about the combos that people are going to make with it. I can't think of what the combos are myself right now. That's the only reason why I'm even considering it exciting. Otherwise, it'd be too broken. But let's see. I think this is a younger version of Memnon, considering it's an uncommon.
Let's see. We've got for a 1 mana blue red, you get a 1/3 jellyfish advisor with flying. And whenever an artifact creature you control enters, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So again, we want them artifacts.
And you said artifact creature. It doesn't have to be an artifact creature. Any artifact. Moreover, it doesn't have to be a non-token. So, your food, your junk, your blood, your treasures, your clues, all of those count as an artifact entering. And I was thinking at first, if it was like +1/+1 until end of turn, that's fine, that's a decent card. But it's +1/+1 counter. And not just on itself, but on any creature? I mean, you could even put it on your opponent's creature. It's not like you would.
I like the flavor text here.
Oh?
What crime did you commit that makes me your best option? Says Tezzeret.
Oh, yeah. Because, yeah, they are an Uthros exile. Oh, yeah, I've been meaning to say this about this set. We were told that this set was going to be full of aliens. This guy, would seem to fit the bill, and a bunch of other cards that we've seen here seem to fit the bill, right?
Yeah.
Wrong.
Eh?
He's not an alien, he's a jellyfish.
But he's a jellyfish alien.
Well...
He's
so...
he's sort of an interpretation of the gray type of alien.
Oh, shoot, I don't mean to put it there. I mean to put it here. Alien. Alien is a creature type in Magic.
Oh, yeah, Doctor Who.
Yeah, Doctor Who, Unfinity. It's mostly those two sets. Sorry, Genova is an alien.
Yeah, she is.
I think that's about it. Oh, the poo-poo UFO. From Final Fantasy VIII, the poo-poo UFO.
I do not remember that.
So, yeah, there are aliens in Magic, and Memnon is not one of them. It's a jellyfish.
I think this is a case of dragons and Pokemon again. Like, not every dragon is the dragon type. Let's be reasonable here.
So it just bugs me that when this set was announced and they said it was going to be like a space, like an alien set, alien is a type and it is not supported. And there are no cards in this set that I think are aliens at all. There certainly aren't any that care about aliens. So I really need someone to make a commander that says like jellyfish and whatever else you control are aliens and all aliens get an ability. Oh well.
Maybe it'll be errated later. You never know.
Back on this, a 3-mana 1/3 with flying that gets +1/+1 counters whenever you, like, drop a turd. You're going to be doing that regularly? This honestly seems pretty awesome. Now, granted, the reward is just it gets large, but honestly, you could kind of turn this into a Voltron deck. Drop some equipment. Oh gosh, drop in the Reaver Cleaver. Reaver Cleaver.
Do you use it in a Wizard Blizzard?
I would, if I could. 3 to cast, 3 to equip. Blah, blah, blah. Gets +1/+1, trample. Yeah, cool. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, create that many treasure tokens. So, you cast it, you put a +1/+1 counter on Memnon. You equip it, you give it +1/+1. Now it's a 3/6 flying trampling. You hit someone for 3, you get 3 treasures, you put 3 more counters on it. You spend that mana on more artifacts that trigger it again and again. Reaver Cleaver is probably the best card in a Memnon deck. So, honestly, I'm excited by this guy.
Wow, we're getting a lot of exciting things. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. I hadn't looked that closely at a lot of these because, once again, I was hoping that this would be a jellyfish. And there were a lot of like slightly missed opportunities here, but honestly, and this once again is really only good in a deck where the whole plan is just make Memnon large and hit people with it. But I like that. That's fun to me.
I know we've been looking forward to talking about this next one.
Oh yeah. Ragast, Deft Gastronaut, is the one that's... Well, I don't want to bury the lead here, but this is the one that I showed you ahead of time. So, go ahead.
For a red and a white, you get a 2/2 Lobster Citizen. Artifacts you control are foods, in addition to their other types, and have 2 mana tap sack. You gain 3 life. And for 1 mana and a tap, sack a food. Ragast deals 3 damage to each opponent. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, untap Ragast.
Wow. Okay, so let's start with vanilla test.
Passed.
Yeah, I mean, do you want your lobster citizen to be rumbling into combat? No.
No.
But he's a fair cost for the body if that happens at some point. But what he really does is make all your artifacts into food, which you might say to yourself, wait, that junk becomes food? Wait, that mana rock becomes food? What kind of sense does that make? What are people eating out here?
Take a good look at that picture.
Oh, yeah. He is turning any random junk into food.
Those robots behind him seem delighted.
Yeah, turns out there's lots of robots in this set, and they like to eat, like, sauteed wires and gears, I guess. So Ragast is certainly filling a niche. He is a deft gastronaut. Perhaps he does serve food to more humanoids as well, but clearly
I'll
the
say
robots
he's a
are his
gastronaut.
specialty.
He's definitely going to the outer reaches of what's edible.
And, okay, the thing that I love the most about him is that he can turn your food into killing people.
Well, yeah, if you eat his, if the wrong being eats his food, it's definitely going to kill them.
Absolutely. If you can somehow force feed someone this gelatin, they will die faster than someone reading from an old cookbook from the 50s. Okay?
If you know, you know.
And he can untap every turn that you've gained life, and everything is food, which means that everything gains you life. So this is a crazy red-white life gain food deck that throws food at people in order to kill
Bops
them.
everyone.
And he made it a lobster. You know how many lobsters are in Magic?
How many?
Well,
I'm genuinely curious.
Let's do a quick count here. Lobster. Creature type lobster. Let's see. Him! It's just him.
First lobster.
Yeah! There are crabs, and there's even a nautilus and stuff like that. But
Ooh, Nautilus.
also, there are so many wonderful puns that you can do. You could say that he's a lobster mobster. You could say...
He's not a mobster.
Well, I don't know. He's got like a nice black outfit. You could have some Streets of New Capenna stuff in the deck, considering that set is where they introduced treasure tokens. Treasure tokens and food, becoming foods are a good, combination here. Also, I was working on a deck that I was calling Brisk Bisque, because lobster bisque, and he's making food kill people. This is an aggro deck, potentially. So he's a lot of fun, and I've got to put him straight to the top. He's easily the one I'm the most excited about. I even heard there might be 1 or 2 infinite combos with him.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, or near infinite. I mean, just giving him... in fact, I'm going to just mention one other thing here. One last one. Basilisk Collar, okay? Giving him...
Oh, no. Death Touch and Lifelink. Oh, no.
If he's got lifelink, every time that you do the sacrifice of food thing to hit somebody for 3 damage, you also gain 6 life, because you're hitting 3 opponents probably, and then he untaps. So you can repeatedly just bot people.
Yep.
Not to mention, nothing else I'm searching for. I just love that he's delicately holding a little sprig of some herb here. Because he's got multiple hands.
He cares about how this stuff is plated.
Exactly. When he's not trying to kill you, he's making the food as good as he can.
And the food, and the good food that he's putting out just might kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Robots only. Please.
Yes. Okay. So now we've finally gotten on to our protagonist from this set, from
Everybody's
the story,
new them friend, Sammy.
who has a cute little kitty that becomes the premise for like the entire main plot.
Seriously, an outrageous amount of the plot is this person looking for their kitty cat. Although, can't blame them. Kitty.
Mm-hmm. I think they said that their cat's name is Miri, which, to people who are longtime Magic Catgirl fans, Miri here.
Oh.
Classic. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that it's literally the same person, because Miri has been long dead since this thing where in canon the vampire killed her, but in this alternate universe they turned her into a vampire. In any case, it's just a coincidence, a little flavor nod that this cat's name is also Miri.
Although I do think that this cat is somehow behind everything that happens.
Apparently, it is not necessarily a coincidence. There's some like being behind the scenes manipulating things so that these characters end up where they need to be, and the rescue plot's just kind of a contrivance by this fourth dimensional being or something.
I
I don't
swear
know.
the cat's behind it somehow.
I think, actually, maybe. Well, what do they do?
Well, for 2 mana, a red and a white, you get a 2/4 Human Artificer. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, create a tapped 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. Okay, so we want things out, we want them tapped, and we want wobots.
And I'm glad that more and more these days, Wizards is finding ways of including things like flavor text on cards that will say something like "down Sammy down on their luck," so that, oh, Sammy's a they. Now you know. We didn't have room for that on Ragast, so we don't know. Some of the robots, clearly some kind of it or they or something. But a lot of the characters, you might not
We're
know how to
experimenting a
gender them
little.
properly,
We're
and flavor
experimenting a
text
little.
helps.
Yeah, we're experimenting a little more with gender identities and magic, and that's great.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, mechanically, vanilla test.
Let's see, we are not passing that today.
No, not even close. And at the beginning of your end step, 2 or more tapped creatures, and you make a robot. So I do like 0 mana, make a robot. That's fun. And tapped creatures, I mean,
That could be tapped due to ability, that could be tapped due to attacking.
yeah, if we go white and red, and we're talking creatures, and we have the tap symbol and a colon. I mean, there's got to be a bajillion of these things, right?
Maybe not a bajillion, but
522.
okay, that's not bad.
And
That's
let's look
decent
specifically at the
pickings.
best ones. Oh, I love Ornithopter of Paradise.
pretty.
Oh, we can play Sammy's mom.
Sammy's mom.
Has got it going on. We can
got-
play Palladium Mirror. That would be really good. Loran of the Third Path is really good. A couple of these, like Witch Enchanter and Pinnacle Monk, technically don't count because on the back they're a land that can tap. That's why they're in the search. But, oh god, Kiki Jiki is probably my favorite card of all time. There's just a lot of options in here. Weathered Wayfarer. So there's a lot of ways of getting creatures that can tap for things, in addition to just attacking. Go to combat.
Yeah.
Granted, if you're going to combat with them, you want them to have something like flying so that they can't easily be blocked, so you can reliably hit people. So, all that said, it's an uncommon for a reason. I think this is kind of the signpost uncommon, and that maybe the red-white deck is supposed to be like turning 2 creatures or more sideways. Oh gosh, our
That would
cat
be the
wants
sound
to
of
talk.
the cat.
I think that
wanna
makes this
Come here, BB.
card as a commander either the worst of the solid or the best in the 99. Because
There he is.
I'm gonna say the worst of the solid ones, because making a 2/2 every turn for 0 mana. Actually, you know what? I don't think I can say that. 4 mana to cast, 2/4. That's all they do. They don't have haste, menace, lifelink, anything that taps on their own. It's tough. I think I'm still gonna keep Sammy there, but Sammy's really edging between these 3. They might edge for Eternities, okay? Because you ideally want your commander to draw you cards, or to be removal, or to be your win condition, or something like that. It helps you build an army, which is kind of good, but I also feel like I can't really say that it's better in the 99, because you would then want a commander that does this ability of like caring about your creatures turning sideways more, and not specifically. You could have a commander that taps, of course. You could have one that like makes you an army, but this ability is a little specific. So I don't think it like easily slots into an existing deck other than like red, white, go wide. Oh gosh, this is a tough decision for me. I think I'm going to put it up there only on the condition that tapping 2 creatures in red-white for other abilities seems a little interesting to me.
All right.
So, sorry that I had to I was so indecisive about that one, but
Sorry I had to zone out for a chunk of that because there's a kitty on me. I wonder if you
yeah,
can hear him purring.
maybe, maybe.
Mwah.
So now we're on to Sammy Wildcat Captain. I think this is them more experienced now.
Alright. For 4 mana, a red and a white, you get a 4/4 Human Artificer Rogue with double strike and vigilance, and spells you cast have affinity for artifacts. So once again, we love them artifacts.
So this time they're an Artificer Rogue. And I've also heard that they're kind of like the Han Solo of our set in that they are the pilot of a kind of ragtag rogue group of like they're stealing stuff and things like that.
They're flying around
And-
space in a Winnebago with their
Yes.
tall furry companion.
In this case, scaly, but yeah, same kind of deal. Well, regardless of that, Sammy, and on the surface, kind of failing the vanilla test, 6 mana, 4/4, wah wah, but double strike and vigilance is huge.
That helps. That helps a lot.
And this is, if you don't get too hyped for a second, it's a cost reducer where you have to pay 6 before you get any cost reduction. But if you do want to get hyped for a second, the cost reduction will make potentially every spell you cast for the rest of the game free. Potentially. Every artifact that you play, unless it's like the Reaver Cleaver and has red in its cost, you can get that cost all the way down to 0. And all you have to do is be playing a few artifacts on the way up here. Do you play Soul Ring in your commander decks?
Trick question, yes you do.
Do you play Arcane Signet in your commander decks?
Trick question, yes you do.
Those will not just make mana, they will also reduce the cost of your artifact spells. Sorry, of all of your spells by 2 more mana. It will reduce the cost of instants, sorceries, enchantments, planeswalkers. Every spell that you cast now has affinity for artifacts, and
Sammy gets you them discounts.
You've got now 4, 5, 6 artifacts before you play Sammy. Oh, by the way, did I say spells? I mean, you're also playing Great Furnace. You're playing artifact lands that will increase your affinity count for -1 mana every turn. For you're playing the Great Furnace. You're playing. I think there's like 7 artifact lands that you can play in this deck. And then what do you spend all the mana on? Well, first off, like your wildest dreams. I mean, it doesn't have to be an artifact, but you could easily drop your Blightsteel Colossus. Just drop that on people for free or next to free.
Oh no!
Oh no, indeed! This guy is also known as One Shot the Robot. Because 11 Infect is more than enough to kill somebody in one shot, and he's got Trample and Indestructible to boot. So you might want to add in some things like Vidalcan Ori, so that you can cast these things at instant speed, or you might want to add in some stuff like, I don't know, Lightning Greaves. Have you ever played Lightning Greaves in a deck?
Yes.
Yeah. Adds to your affinity while equipping for 0 and giving haste. So anything like that, your artifact creatures are kind of come down and swing immediately. I mean, just so many ridiculous things. Kozilek. I mean, Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, it could be 0 mana if you control 10 artifacts.
Oh man, if you get enough cards that allow you to investigate, you could get a bunch of clue tokens. Get them clue tokens. Those are artifacts.
There are a lot of ways of making cheap artifact tokens that don't do a lot, and then Sammy will turn them into huge advantages for you. And you're not even that limited by white and red. Honestly, this card is insane. You just play artifact ramp to get up to 6, and then I think really what you need is just ways of refilling your hand, because otherwise you're going to dump your entire hand every turn. So you need to be playing wheel effects. And the world's your oyster. Sammy's going to have the craziest allies, ones that they would never have in real life. So Sammy...
You mean in canon?
Sure, in canon. Sammy, I think I want to put up here. Because honestly, how fun is this deck going to be? I think it'll be really fun if you haven't gotten the Timmy impulse out of playing the biggest artifact in Magic history, and then on top of it playing the next biggest artifact in Magic history for free. If you haven't had that exhilarating experience before, have it. But then, to me, like what does somebody do with infinite money? What does somebody do with infinite time? At a certain point,
Study.
sure, maybe.
If I have infinite money, first I'm fixing the world's problems. Second, I'm going to take care of my own stuff, and then I'm going back to college.
Okay,
forever.
So I may be opening up a can of worms there, but the idea is if you can do literally anything, then I think it could get kind of boring. I personally do like having a few more restrictions, but clearly if you just do Artifact Ramp into Sammy as fast as possible, it just opens the wormhole to infinite possibilities.
Bye, Beanie.
So Thera's legendary, but it doesn't have a power and toughness box, so it can't be a commander. So the next commander is
Servandum, Sunstar Exemplar. Here he is posing for the cover of a pulpy sci-fi novel.
Or a propaganda poster.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Anyway, for a white and a black, you get a 2/2 human knight with vigilance and menace.
Oh.
Whenever another creature you control dies or is put into exile, put a 1/1 counter on Servandum and you gain 1 life. And when Servandum dies or is put into exile while its power is 4 or greater, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Whoop!
Yeah. So this card's good. This card's really good. I mean, let's start with the vanilla test.
Passed.
With flying colors. If this card had 2 words on it instead of 50, it would pass the vanilla test and be pretty cool as a 2 mana 2/2 knight with vigilance and menace.
This guy understood the assignment.
But instead, he has the ability to grow, gain you life, and destroy something when he dies. And when he triggers when creatures die or are put into exile, you're playing warp cards in his deck. You're playing sacrifice effects like ye old Viscera Seer. Viscera Seer. I also heard that there's a new Viscera Seer in this set. It costs a little bit more, but is better in some ways. You can just sack any creature for 0 mana to do a little benefit. Since this says whenever another creature you control dies, you can just do that whenever to make him big, gain life. And then when you can kill him whenever you need to at instant speed to destroy a non-land permanent. And he's your commander, so you get him back for 4 to start the train all over again.
Yeah, this guy is basically a superhero.
Yeah, you want to build a Knight Kindred. He might not be the best as the commander, but he'll be great in the 99.
Ooh.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, we're making a Cecil deck for Cecil from Final Fantasy because Final Fantasy IV is my favorite and I love Cecil.
And we are choosing to narrow it down to a Knight Kindred deck because he's a knight on both sides and it's black-white. Servandum is a shoo-in.
Dang it, and we've been trying to
cut things.
Yeah, because there are a lot of cards that would work, and now we're just kind of trying to filter them for the best ones, but I do think that Servandum deserves the consideration, even though he's late to the audition.
And this set took some inspiration from the Order of Jedi Knights.
No kidding.
To include space knights with beam sabers and stuff. I do like that they are visually quite different from Jedi. And they are, religiously quite different from Jedi. They're not so much monks as they are more like a order of knights. They do wear armor, they, follow ranks quite a bit, things like that. But in any case, this is an aristocrat's commander, because based on creatures dying. So there are lots of black-white aristocrats commanders out there. This seems like one of the better ones. So yeah, he goes way up there. I think he's in competition for one of the best aristocrats commanders ever, and he's one of the best black-white knights, and he's good just on his own, and in the 99.
Don't worry, Cecil. I love you, and you're my favorite forever.
Oh yeah. Alright, now this is the less rare version of Servandum the Lucent.
For 2 mana, a white, and 2 blacks, you get a 4/4 human knight with Death Touch and Lifelink. Whenever Servandum enters or attacks, other creatures you control gain +1/0 and gain Death Touch until end of turn.
Okay. So my gut on this one is to just immediately put this in like top of better in the 99.
Oh, really?
Because I do think that this is another one that would definitely go better. I mean, look, a 5 mana commander is just going to be less reliable than a 2 mana commander. Because the other Servandum is going to come out early, it's going to come out repeatedly. This one is going to come out a little slower, especially in black-white, not known for its ramp. And if it dies, it's going to be hard to get to the 7 mana need to recast it. And once you do, the effect will be a little less. But it does have a go wide ability. It gives your other creatures +1/+0 and Death Touch until end of turn.
When he hits the field and gets rid of his summoning sickness, he wants everybody to go raw and storm the gates.
I do actually love that he says enters or attacks. Honestly, so many potential commanders have been ruined by having an enters ability, and then they might as well be dead after they've done the thing.
Yeah.
But this one, when it enters or attacks. So actually,
he hits the field, everyone goes raw and storms the gates.
I think I'm going to put this one up around here.
Okay.
Actually. This is a solid commander because it is good for a go-wide black-white deck, especially if your creatures have First Strike, and a lot of knights do. Giving them First Strike and Death Touch is scary. So,
at that point, your opponent's armies are just going to be, nope, we'd actually like to be able to do something next turn.
Mm-hmm. So
we're going to part like the Red Sea.
So I would say you could make an argument for this being better in the 99, but I think it's still a pretty good commander.
All right.
So next we're on to, would you pronounce that Jarl? Zarl Genesis Shepherd.
The Czar of God. Anything ending in EL is ancient Hebrew for God, so...
I thought it has to go like AEL, like Raphael or Michael.
No, it's just the EL that means the something of God.
Okay, and SZ, I see that mostly in like Eastern European,
So the Czar of God?
I'm not sure. But either way, Genesis Shepherd, and this is the other commander from the Jund Land Matters deck. So, take it away.
2 mana, a black, a red, and a green will get you a 2/5 insect druid with flying, and you may play lands from your graveyard. Ooh. Fun. Whenever you sacrifice another non-token permanent during your turn, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to Zarl's power on up to one other target creature.
May I just say, something that I've been meaning to mention is that as of this set, or maybe I think the Final Fantasy one, there's one little bit of templating that I really like. Which is where, in the past, if you had a character like Zarl Genesis Shepherd, the first time you mentioned them in their own rules text, it had to say Zarl Genesis Shepherd. And now they can go with just nicknames, like Zarl. So an example from the past might be...
How about Cecil? He's right there.
Cecil, yeah. That Cecil doesn't say whenever Cecil Dark Knight deals damage. But if you go back just a little ways, let's go look for a, I just need to find almost any example. How about Niv Mizzet? Does Niv Mizzet do it? Yeah. So whenever you draw a card, Niv Mizzet Parun deals 1 damage to any target. You'll note the Oracle text just says Niv Mizzet deals 1 damage, not Parun. So this is one of many steps that they've taken in recent years to make commanders in particular have less words that don't mean anything and more words that do mean things.
Gotta preserve that text box real estate,
100%. Now, Jund Lands Matters. I already said it's a little bit of a competitive field. There are already some other commanders that do it well, like Lord Windgrace. He does allow you to just straight up play lands from your graveyard, which is a great Crucible of Worlds effect.
I think Zarl's a girl.
Card that does it. You think so?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Maybe. The leader of the insect people is apparently Mantis. That's
Oh,
her
right.
name.
Oh, right. I'm confusing this person with someone else, but I guess this
Mm-hmm.
could be female too. I can't tell.
Yeah, can't tell. They're bugs. The gender dimorphism is unknown to us. They also have like centaur bodies and four wings. Who knows? Also, that appears to be the ship that is the other commander in the deck.
Oh, yeah.
Flying by and doing some stuff like seeding the land or something. Because I believe that's kind of the deal, is that they're like terraformers, is what they are
Right.
in the lore.
Terraforming bugs.
Yeah. And I even have a Jund
Bug
insect
guitars.
deck, and I am not sure that I'm going to play this in my Jund insect deck. Because my Jund insect deck cares about insects, and this one cares about lands. In fact, specifically, I make lots of token creatures that I sacrifice, and he cares about non-token creatures being sacrificed. Oh no! Now, you want to be playing fetch lands. You can play a lot of fetch lands in these colors, and when you do, you'll put some +1/+1 counters on up to one other creature. So here's the thing. I don't think that this is the best commander in these colors, not even close. Because, like, this ability and this ability only sync up when you're playing fetch lands, which you will, of course, but it syncs up on every other commander of this type as well. And your reward is +1/+1 counters on someone else equal to his power. So you can't put counters on himself and then give a bigger boost. You have to... It doesn't synergize that well, actually. So, personally, I think...
Do we have our first lame one?
I hate to say it.
Good artwork, though.
I mean, I think you could argue that they're better in the 99, but honestly, this is like the 7th card that lets you play lands from your graveyard, and most of these other commanders let you pull lands from your graveyard to your hand and play them that way. So I don't think you even need this effect. And many of the other Lands Matter decks aren't Jund. If you're playing Naya, you can't play him. So I'm going to put him all the way down in lame and hopefully get some rage bait comments for it. So.
Please, fight with us about it. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
Oh yeah, and a 2/5 is not exciting. It's kind of boring. Even when flying. Now we're on to Tennek, Memorial Ensign, who I believe is the Chewbacca of this set.
That's right. All right, for 1 mana, a red and a green, you get a 2/4 Kavu Pilot. Landfall effect. Whenever a land you control enters, Tennek deals 1 damage to each opponent. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, draw a card.
Okay. So, first off, I need to say I have a kind of love-hate relationship with Kavu. That Kavu were originally introduced in Invasion Block, and the lore at the time was that they were ancient creatures buried deep within the Llanowar forest, or Yavimaya forest, I think it was Llanowar. And that Gaia herself rose them to fight against the Phyrexians. And so they were kind of the in-universe dinosaurs after they canonically stopped making dinosaurs for many years because dinosaurs are real. Dinosaurs aren't magic. Dinosaurs really existed on Earth.
You know what? So did cats and humans. Shut up.
Eventually, they decided to go to Ixalan and make a set all about dinosaurs, and it was the Land of the Lost kind of thing, and it was fun and it was great. But during this era, they were trying to make more things that were magic brand, that they owned. And so they invented these Kavu, which have a wide variety of different shapes. You know, there was no one specific body plan, but it was kind of like this.
But they all have teeth.
Oh yeah, they're all good beasties. And for a minute there, it even seemed like they might get eroded to just being beast. But then, the Kavu come back in this set, and they're sentient now, and they're in space.
You know, I actually like what this might imply, lore-wise.
Mm-hmm.
That the Kavu eons ago were from the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow or other, they either migrated or were exiled, or maybe the Chaos Wall just cut off a bunch of Kavu in the Edge of into the Eternities, and it's like, oh yeah, we've kind of developed since the days of our ancient ancestors.
Yeah, like, I thought it might be a little similar to Doctor Who having the, like, lizard people at the center of the Earth who have always been there, like, longer than us even. Rather than being dinosaurs, they could be their own civilization that just lived underground for millennia and nobody noticed until Gaia woke them up, because Gaia knew, because Gaia is like the spirit of the planet.
Oh yeah, I remember those guys.
Also, the you could say that they were an intelligent race like millennia ago, and they crash landed on Dominaria, in part because Dominaria is the largest plane. It is at the center of the multiverse. If anyone's going to crash land in a random spot, you throw a dart, you're most likely to hit Dominaria. And then they maybe had to like reinvent themselves from the ground up. Maybe they ended up being feral because their tech was broken or something. And I love that headcanon.
I prefer my headcanon where these are where the Kavu we're looking at now are descendants of the
Oh,
primordial Kavu, and like, oh yeah, our ancestors lived pretty much all over this area, but then the Chaos Wall went up and we developed, and I guess they did, and I guess they went extinct.
well, I believe that the Kavu of Invasion block were canonically like 1 or 200, like 200 years ago. So in 200 years, they become a spacefaring sentient race. I don't know how they did that, but regardless, I'm happy to see Kavu here. Because also, during that downtime, I'm a big dinosaur guy. Jurassic Park is my favorite movie of all time. I'm a dino boy. And so I've been wanting to build dinosaur decks longer than dinosaurs have been really a thing in Magic. But I couldn't, and Kavu were the closest thing I could do, and they all kind of suck. Well, now we have a few kind of modernly good Kavu, and I'm really hoping that I can build a Kavu deck finally, but I kind of doubt it. So,
Serving in the Memorial Navy was nothing like the posters made it out to be.
the memorial, by the way, is the memorial to their own dying planet that they kind of killed themselves.
See, they actually listened to their version of Jor-El when they realized that their sun was going to explode. And they're like, okay, time to basically scrap the planet for parts so that we can get the hell out of here.
And, you know, for better or for worse, they did. They blew their planet apart so much that it is only like halfway together as a planet, when apparently the Monoists show up, convert their star that was about to go supernova into a black hole, and so it isn't about to explode and kill them all anymore.
So now there's...
They're like, whoops, we made a memorial navy in honor of our planet that we were going to have to leave behind. We still have to leave it behind, but now it's our fault? Look, in hindsight being 2020, if we knew that this was going to happen, we might have done it different. So I just think that the memorial navy is kind of ironic and funny in that way.
If tragic.
Now, mechanically, 3 mana, 2/4, fails the vanilla test.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, you're right. That's right. The way the vanilla test works is that you can substitute 1 toughness for 1 power. It's effectively a 3/3. Granted, I do think that toughness is a little worse than power overall, but it's how the vanilla test works. So, passes. And when a land you control enters, you deal 1 damage to each opponent. If it's the second time you draw a card. I think that's a pretty good ability. One of the things that I don't like about landfall in Commander is that it ends up oftentimes just being loops of doing the same little derpy stuff over and over again, not really ending games, not really progressing things other than like making a creature token every once in a while or something. But this turns playing lands into bopping your opponents in the face.
So that is something.
And it'll draw you cards which will help you advance the board state rather than just going in circles over and over again. Coming out for only 3 and in colors that ramp really good, I think Tanuk's promising. Arguably, even exciting. I think somewhere around here.
Hello again, Bean. Get your butt out of my face.
Yeah, I mean, he's a cat, so... What do
He's
you
also
expect?
rubbing up against you right now,
Oh,
viewers.
against the microphone? Oh, yeah.
Rubbing up against you, viewers. He's saying hello.
By the way, we are actually nearing the end of the list because a lot of these, you'll note, don't actually have power and toughness boxes. Tezzeret, Dominion Bracelet, Endstone, Eternity Elevator. They do not count as commanders because they do not have power and toughness.
Mwah.
But Tanuk does. Tanuk, the more experienced
Ooh, look at them spikes.
Aha. And that
Mwah.
speed.
Mwah. All right, for 2 mana and 2 red, you get a 3/5 Kavu Pilot. Other creatures you control have haste.
Yeah.
Artifact cards and red creature cards in your hand have warp 2 mana red. You may cast a card from your hand for its warp cost and stuff and stuff. We're a few bones short of a skeleton crew, Sammy, but we've got plenty of spine. Oh, I
All
like
right.
this guy.
I know. I like him too. And I like that he's a Kavu. Now, I was saying before that I would love to have a Kavu commander deck. He does not make a good Kavu commander because it's only one color. And as we saw from the search here, there's plenty of green Kavu. There's a Naya Kavu. There's even a couple of Kavus of other weird colors. There's a black one. Most of them suck, sure, but so the other one might be a better Kavu commander, but regardless, other creatures you control have haste. Gosh, that's good.
Sure, but a lot of things in red have haste.
Yes.
Might be taking Coles to Newcastle there.
What?
Oh, you don't know that one?
I don't think I've heard that.
It might be taking flowers to the florist's daughter.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's taking something that they've already got a lot of.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I agree with you. And so I'm always torn when it comes to putting things in my red decks that give creatures haste, because a significant portion of the creatures in red already have haste. I think the difference is your commander. If it's your commander, that means that you can count on your commander having haste, and that there are no creatures that you would put in your deck because they have haste. In fact, you'll play a lot of creatures in the 99 that you really wish had haste, because you can rely on this guy having it. And that means that you don't need to play Rising of the Dawn or a lot of Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots and stuff like that, Lava Spur Boots. There are so many cards that give your creatures haste that you can leave them all out and just rely on your commander to do it. Plus, he gives all of your creatures haste, so that'll be good on, like, artifact creatures. Ugh, Eldrazi. No, don't do that. Do artifact cards. Do artifact cards. Moreover, giving your creatures warp. Didn't I say earlier that warp seems kind of bad unless the creature has haste?
Well, this is giving other creatures warp.
And haste.
So...
Yeah, you
Fixed.
don't want warp as your commander, because we saw before you can only warp from your hand. But your commander gives all your other creatures warp?
Now you're cooking with gas.
I wonder if this guy actually might be kind of a mono-red version of Satoru Umezawa. Satoru gives each creature card in your hand ninjutsu for 4 mana, and therefore has been used by a lot of people to cheat in gigantic creatures for 4 mana. Granted, this is in Dimir colors, and this is mono-red. So once again, people drop Blightsteel Colossus and one-shot people with that robot. This is another deck where Blightsteel Colossus would be powerful. Because you can Blightsteel people for 3.
Oh god, that would be terrible.
Yeah, right there. Actually, I think
But
I may have
actually
talked
great.
myself out of it. I think if you sit down to play against someone with Tannock, I need to know, are you playing Blightsteel Colossus or not? Because if you are, I think we just scoop and go to the next game immediately. Because if you draw Blightsteel, then the game ends. But there are lots of other crazy things that you can do, I'm sure. What about, like, Avatar of... Shoot, I think it's Fury might be what I'm thinking of. No, it's not. Although that's fun, but... just one quick search then for avatars. And we will talk some other time about the upcoming Avatar set. But I was thinking of Avatar of Slaughter.
Oh no.
So this is an 8 mana 8/8 that gives all creatures double strike and they have to attack. Normally that's a pretty big drawback because you give your opponent's creatures double strike. But if you use Tannock, you warp it in, all of your creatures have double strike, and you got an 8/8 for 3 mana, and then you hit somebody, and then you hit him again with the double strike, and not just with the Avatar, but with all of your creatures. And then, whoop, it goes away, and your opponents don't get it. Until later, like turn 7 or something, maybe 8, you drop it again, give all your creatures double strike, and win the game. So I think there are fun things that you can do with Tanic, but unfortunately it does fall a little bit into the when I can do anything, like...
This is a game for speed. This is a commander for speedrunners, okay?
Yeah, it's a game where you kind of play fairly for 3 or 4 turns, and then you drop,
Bored now!
buildings on people, and, summon space monstrosities, just, the mecha god on somebody's face.
Hey, Tanic versus Finn.
Finn?
Finn?
The human?
No. Fang. I'm thinking, is it Fang or Finn?
Fang from what?
Finn, Fynn.
From...
Magic the Gathering?
Oh, Finn the Fangbearer. Finn the Fangbearer. How, Scryfall's currently performing database maintenance. Great timing on this. Finn, I think Finn's better, because it costs 2, and it has an interesting mechanic of turning your Death Touch creatures into poison creatures. So it's more effective at what it does, and has a more interesting deck building challenge. This, you have to play artifact or red creatures, which you're already doing in mono red. And this gives them haste, so you just play the nastiest. For that reason, I personally don't like it, but I can't argue that they're not a good commander. They're probably somewhere up here.
Asterisk, have the turn 0 conversation.
I'm hoping the Scryfall doesn't break on me. In the middle of this, we're down to the last 2. We're on to the Sarima, which is basically the Millennium Falcon of this set, as it is Sammy's ship.
I swear there's a ship that looks like that in Star Wars, but with the pincers lopped off.
I think there's one that looks like that in Star Wars, but it's sideways. Or there's one like that in EVE Online. But regardless, what does the Sarima do?
Well, for 1 mana and 2 white, you get a spacecraft. And when that spacecraft enters, you search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. At charge 7, it stops being a land ornament, and then it gains flying. And 5/5, and other tapped legendary creatures you control have indestructible.
Strange that it says tapped legendary creatures you control. So you actually want to avoid legendary creatures in white that have vigilance, which is a lot of them. So that's
Seems
a little weird.
Counterintuitive.
Yeah. Or maybe, because actually, now that I think about it, the other version of Sammy, Sammy has vigilance. So Sammy's ship will actually not give Sammy indestructible.
Not that version. The other version, yeah.
Oh, the other version, yeah. But okay.
But Sammy couldn't be in this deck couldn't be in the 99 of a deck commanded by this.
You could put the Sarima in the 99 of a Sammy deck, but you can't put Sammy in the 99 of a Sarima deck.
Yep.
Also, I have been excited for a while about the idea of a commander that is a tutor. Not because I like tutors generally, just the opposite. I like the idea of potentially having a commander that is not a legendary creature. You could have a commander that tutors up like an enchantment, and then you build your whole deck around this enchantment that does something interesting. Something like that.
Of course, here we're getting a legendary creature, which kind of raises the question of, wait, if we're tutoring for a legendary creature, why not just make the legendary creature we want into a commander?
Exactly! I saw this and I was like, oh, cool, you have a commander that is a tutor. If you got like a sorcery out of this, and you made your deck like the Wrath of God deck, that would be brutal, but it'd be interesting. If this went and got an enchantment, I don't know what you would do with it, but you could do something the humility deck. Oh, that'd be brutal. But what it does is it goes and gets you the thing that would be sitting here anyway.
Well,
seems like a missed opportunity.
Also, how often are we actually concerned about our tapped legendary creatures?
I mean, there are Legendary Matters commanders out there already, of course. Legendary creature, not as the type.
Like, how vulnerable are our legendary creatures, generally speaking? do they need indestructible that badly, is my point.
some of them, yes. Let's see. Legendary creature that cares about legendary creatures. Okay, so as an example, it's competing with like Arvad the Curse to make your legendary creatures bigger. Or, I don't know. There are others. Other legendary creatures you control have exploit. Just other legendary creatures you control have vigilance and tap for 1 mana of any color. So there are other Legends Matters commanders out there. There's like 90, geez. And the Serena is 1 color and only benefits the ones that don't have vigilance in mono white, and only if you've put 7 counters into it. I'm gonna say it.
Lame.
Lame. This might be the lamest commander that we've looked at so far. A 5/5 flyer is fine, but like we could probably get a 5/5 flyer
Other ways.
legendary creature for like 4 or 5 mana instead of 3 and tap 7 power worth of things. And tutoring up a legendary creature. No, that I just don't like it.
I don't really see the intent behind this one. Like, why did they make it like this?
Yeah, why indeed? I mean, somebody's probably going to show me something really cool with Sarima that I didn't think of, but
Please
honestly,
write about it in the comments. We clearly cannot figure it out.
9 times out of 10, though, I think the answer is why didn't you just play that as your commander instead? I don't know. Okay. One thing I can think of. You could have a colorless legendary creature in your deck, and it could be a white deck. So Sarima, for instance, could tutor up Dawnsire. No, it can't actually, because Dawnsire is not a creature. But, something like that.
We'll leave this as an exercise for the viewer.
So, the last new commander in Edge of Eternities is...
Jeu Effete Osteoharmonist.
Yeah, okay, so osteo meaning bone, harmonist music? Or like making work together, kind of?
Yeah.
Okay, making beautiful harmonies with your bones. Alright.
If the cartoons are to be believed, they are notoriously good xylophones and marimbas.
Oh no, that sounds pretty spooky scary.
Skeletons. Anyway, for 1 mana and 2 black, you get a 2/3 human wizard, and for a tap, then you return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's a skeleton in addition to its other types and has no abilities. Activate only as a sorcery.
So,
Skellies!
I would love to see skeletons as a theme a little bit more, considering that we've got zombies as a theme 100 times.
And I like skeletons more than zombies. Skeletons don't stink as much as zombies.
Death Baron is one of the few cards I can think of that gives skeletons a buff. +1/+1 in Death Touch is great, but it still gives zombies that buff too, so... Like, this card gets play, of course. It's worth a few dollars despite being reprinted a number of times, but it's mostly for zombie decks, because who's building skeleton decks? But Zoo Ifit is, and I guess they're a monoist.
Looks like. They're definitely dressed in the color scheme of one.
And I think also monoists, one of the things is that they're into mono black.
Ah.
So, now, what is the, what's the case that you would build this? What special thing would you do with this as your commander? You reanimate creatures, but as skeletons with no other abilities.
Maybe if you have some cards that their entire purpose is to buff skellies.
Well, I mean, if you reanimate Death Baron, it'll be a zombie wizard and it'll have no text on it anymore, even if it is a skeleton.
But you don't want it reanimated.
You don't want
it on the
Death
field.
Baron, no.
You want it on the field, giving your skeletons them buffs.
But here's what I'm thinking: mono black, and I'm thinking
Text skeletons.
at the beginning, the sacrifice, something like that. So there are probably a lot of triggers like this, like Abhorrent Overlord, 7 mana to cast. So that's nasty to spend the mana on.
Why does that look like Mega Umbreon?
I don't know. But okay, so 7 mana to cast. So you could potentially get around the mana cost by like discarding it or milling it or something, and then you drop a 7-drop for nothing basically, and it's a 6/6. And when it enters, you make a bunch of black harpies.
But if you're bringing it back, it has no abilities.
Oh right, okay. You don't get a bunch of black harpies, but the important thing here is that normally at the beginning of your upkeep you sacrifice a creature, but if it doesn't have that text, it loses the drawback.
And you still have a chonker that you got for nothing.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of creatures here. Oh, I'm actually really curious how variable power and toughness creatures work, because I Apocalypse Demon's power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your graveyard.
But no text.
No abilities. So this is a characteristic defining ability that defines what its power and toughness is.
So is it undefined and then the game explodes?
My thinking is that it somehow should still have this, but I'm not positive. Don't quote me on it. In fact, somebody maybe look it up at some point. I think that this might still be large, because usually this means that it's dynamic and works in all zones, but I'm not positive. Also,
see, I would assume the opposite. I would assume it's just assumed to be 0/0 without its ability. And then it just insta-dies.
It very well could. It very well could. Okay, could I... Oh, I thought of another one. Death... shoot, what's it called? Death... Oh, God. I can't think of what it's called now. That's going to bring up so much stuff. Damn. I'll know it when I see it, but there's way too many cards that say death. I'm thinking of a 1-mana, like, 12/12. Death's Shadow, that's what it's called. This. Check that out.
Ooh! Ooh! Oh, yeah, you would want this in this deck.
Oh, for sure.
You want it milled into you want it in your graveyard, and then you want it back, but as a 13/13 skeleton.
Yeah.
Giant skeleton.
Yeah! And I think there's also like an Archfiend or an Archdemon that does something similar. Let me see if I can find him. No. Is it an Archdemon? We're about done here.
Good, I have to pee.
Okay, well, I'm not seeing him here, but there's one from like Zendikar Rising that also gets -- where it's like your life total or something. So
it sounds like there are things you could do this with, but maybe not the best.
You know what? No, I think that this is really cool. This creates an interesting take on Reanimator, even in mono black. It might be the least of the excited cards to me, but I think it's kind of exciting. Which means that I think we can call this to a close.
And there you have it. It looks like we're more excited about this than anything.
Yeah, I didn't expect to find so many that I am excited about. Ragas seems really interesting. There are only a couple that I think these two kind of aren't worth playing. Although this could go in the 99. I think that you might not need it. So I might actually build Tanic at some point. I'm going to look at my Kavu. I think the Kavu suck too bad. This one and this one, these two might be busted. This one could be fun. I would be interested in seeing it. So this one might show up in CEDH if 5 mana isn't too much in a mono blue ramp deck. But yeah, so with that all said, this set's coming out very, very soon. I think the pre-release is about to happen. We're almost late on this one. And we're already getting spoilers for Spider-Man and Avatar. So,
oh jeez,
as the sun sets on Edge of Eternities, before we can even get out a pre-release, first take on it.
Kisses for the bean.
I will most likely be back for Spider-Man. I'll most likely be back for Avatar and all that stuff. But this is the last Magic original IP set. And
for a while anyway.
For the rest of the year.
Jeez.
Yeah, the next two standard sets are the two that I mentioned, Spider-Man and Avatar. We may get another supplemental product in there somewhere that I am not remembering or that they haven't announced. But yeah, honestly, I think that the original sets for this year have been fine. maybe even good, but they're being extremely overshadowed by the Universes Beyond ones, including, by the way, you probably could have assumed this, Final Fantasy has become the best-selling Magic set of all time.
I'm not surprised. It was a canny crossover.
The Lord of the Rings set was the best-selling set before it, and the Lord of the Rings set in 6 months made as much money. That was the previous record holder. Made as much money in 6 months as Final Fantasy made in 1 day.
Jesus.
So, a lot of people are worried that, we were already getting maybe too much Universes Beyond. I would think so, too.
Like, okay, can we pour a little bit more magic into the a little bit more OG magic into the concentration, please?
Yeah, more magic in our magic.
Just, balance.
Exactly. I think that 2025 has had the threshold, like, arguably on the wrong side of that line of Universes Beyond. And now we've just gotten the signal that if they do it really well,
the numbers don't lie.
It's the best-selling product they can make, and Hasbro is going to want to hit that hard. So this could spell bad things for Magic, but personally...
Or at the very least a questionable era. I do think people will get sick of it eventually because, trends come and go.
And personally, these cards still account for like 1% of all of Magic's history. There are still a huge variety among the cards that people see out there, and personally, I'm always there for new people coming into the game, new mechanics being explored, new flavor, design space. So
plus, don't act like you haven't said, okay, if this character was a Magic card,
Witcher. Give me some Witcher, huh? Give me some Game of Thrones. Give me, how about Muppets? Anyway, there's a lot of things out there. Silent Hill?
Don't tempt me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other things that I would be cool with seeing in Magic. I would prefer to keep it under 50% of the products that they make, but I think that we will, with that, go ahead and wrap up our hot takes, our first looks at all the commanders.
Now all I have to do is figure out how I'm
Eternities.
going to get to the bathroom when there's a cute purring kitty on me.
The struggle is real, right? Everybody who's owned a cat knows that struggle. And we'll catch you in the next one, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.